So my whole plan was to get married. And when I got married, I was like, I did it. I got married. And then after that, I had no plans. You go into marriage thinking, oh, I'm an adult. I communicate pretty well. And that's just not the case. I don't care like how old you are or how many siblings you have.
You could send a joking text message to your wife and she could take that absolutely serious. And next thing you know, you're up till 3 a.m. having to explain yourselves.
What would you tell your daughter?
Not to settle for less. If she wants a certain kind of person, I totally understand that it might not be realistic sometimes to have a very long list, as we were talking about earlier, with things that must be ticked off before she gets married to someone. But at the same time, I don't want her to get to 30 and then suddenly then desperate and then end up settling with whoever comes along.
I would actually tell her to be very defined in her objectives. Having a very clear objective of what you want out of this would possibly open your eyes to the possible red flags.
I guess for me, I would have to tell her to make sure that there is someone accountable to them in the process of courtship, for her and for the individual as well. To be honest with you, you could put probably the two holiest people together in a courtship scenario, and I could tell you for certain sin is not excluded from this relationship whatsoever. It literally takes one night of just letting your guard down and things going really, really bad. So one thing I've noticed a lot, that which is really hindering a lot of people, especially in today's day, as far as the church goes, is that there's almost next to no accountability when it comes to dating. A lot of people, and don't get me wrong, I understand if you want to keep it private, but you do have to open up to certain individuals, whether it be to your pastors, whether it be to your spiritual parents, or even your parents, if you have that close relationship with them, to really keep you accountable in this relationship, to make sure that that they're doing things right. Unfortunately, there's a lot of relationships going on, and the mindset is that, well, it's nobody's business and we don't want to tell anyone. And to be honest with you, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, because having served as long as the church as I have, and having to actually have some of these conversations with some of these people who were looking to marry or were currently courting, to have those tough conversations, you begin to realize that they're doing stuff in the relationship that either one, they're ashamed of and they don't want to come out and say it, and so they're kind of stuck in that scenario, that vicious cycle of continuing to do it, or they actually like to do it and just don't want anyone to know about it. And so it's very important that we open up our relationship to those who we trust and allow there to be some kind of accountability in that relationship, to make sure that this relationship is being guided properly, and above all else, to make sure that Christ is the center of it and stays the center of it.
Why did you get married?
I was ready and needed to share life with someone, and it was
Sorry, what do you mean by you were ready?
I had set certain milestones on myself. I know to some people it might not sound so logical, but I had said to myself that until I've finished my education, I have a certain amount of savings in my bank account, I have a house that I've bought, then I will be, I want somebody else to share life with. So yeah, I consider that to be ready physically, and then spiritually. Do I feel spiritually mature to let somebody else into my life who I can lead, somebody who I can lead and ready to start a family with, and be, in a capacity to mentor them, all these things. And when the answer was yes to all those questions, then I was like, yes, I'm ready to get married.
It's interesting because maybe somebody watching this would say you really had that checklist, but knowing you definitely had that list.
I think everybody does, right? Every guy does.
Yeah? Is that the case? You see Jeff's head? Do you see Jeff's head? It went like this.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
At the time that I got married, I thought I was ready because, not to contradict anyone, but how financially stable is financially stable.
Yeah.
How spiritually mature is spiritually mature. You understand what I mean? We're not going to be perfectly mature until we're in the presence of the Lord, and you're only as financially stable as your current or next asset, I guess. But at the time that I got married, we were like in a good, productive place. I also didn't want to stay unmarried for very long. We I think we dated for a week on the phone, and then we courted for 8 months, and then we started planning to get married. And when we got married, we dealt with issues that, had we had a better understanding of courtship, we probably could have been prepared to deal with them. Not that we weren't going to deal with them, but we probably could have been better prepared to deal with them by the time we actually got married. As far as why we did get married, it was because in ultimate, we met the person that we believe that God had for us.
I got married because, like I said earlier on, it's been like one of my life goals. From a very early age, I began to mentally visualize, my adulthood, and having a family was a key part of it. When my wife came into the scene, that was scary because she came straight, like she came out straight to me. She told me, I like you, you like me, because I approached her wanting to date her. She said, nope, this is why I'm in life. I don't do dating. It's from courtship to engagement to marriage. I was like, wow, you've got the audacity, young lady. I actually appreciate the fact that she was so very real and honest with me, because if she had not done that, I don't think we would have probably got married by now. Because I felt I had all the time in the world, to get to know her and stuff like that. But because I saw her as someone I really love and wanted to spend my life with, that initiated, a different thinking in me. I began to ask myself some questions that, okay, why am I not looking to get married? Why am I looking to date her? Is there anything that I need to accomplish before getting married? Many people, mostly men, sometimes, they want, marriage, but because they have not really had that sit down with themselves to think about, okay, I think I should get married. I think I'm ready for marriage. Then the devil keep telling you, okay, you're not ready. But in the actual sense, you are never really, really ready until something happens to make you ready.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, anyone who has a plan and has lists, by all means, do it. If it's available, do it. If you can, by all means, try to get yourself as prepared as much as you can for marriage, because it's lifelong journey that is probably one of the hardest things that we as men will ever have to do. But for myself, it was just a matter of this woman coming along who I honestly never thought would ever come along. When I kind of met my wife, I was just kind of like at that point where I was just like, okay, I kind of feel like the Apostle Paul here, like, I guess where he said, if it's good that a man not get married, all right, fine, let's do this. But when she came along, she kind of really changed how I perceived it all, and I really didn't think that a woman like this would ultimately come into my life, let alone also attend the church which I was attending, and to be as wonderful and great as she was. So as I got to know her, and as I got to realize that this woman is absolutely amazing, I just dove into it. Were we financially ready? No. Were we sound in our careers? Absolutely not. Could we afford to have children? Absolutely not. But we dove in on this, and we took a leap of faith, and we trusted that God was guiding us and bringing us together in this marriage. And every obstacle that we had to face, as hard and as mountainous as it might have been, we're still passionately in love with one another, and our marriage is still going strong. And I thank God for our life every single day. So
I love it. Did you expect to navigate marriage easier?
I wasn't looking to get married when I got married. My wife came into the picture, and she just changed my perspective. Like you can't really learn marriage from outside marriage. You have to be in it to learn, like to understand, what marriage means. So it's been it's been challenging to say, to be very honest. It's been very challenging on every aspect. But then we also are learning. We're learning a lot in terms of understanding. What is important. Understanding what our backbone is and what our ribs are. Because if you don't understand the difference between your backbone and your ribs, you get to fight over every little thing.
Did you think marriage was going to be easier? Kadeem, Moses, Jeff?
I would say that courtship baptizes you with warm, sparkling water, where marriage baptizes you with fire. All right? Okay? Because marriage is it's another. If you're somebody who's been dating your whole life and then you get married, now you're alive. Now you've been born. Now you exist.
Anything before that is just play.
Rubbish. Absolute
Rubbish.
Absolute rubbish. The key in marriage is communication, and you go into marriage thinking, oh, I'm an adult, I communicate pretty well. And that's just not the case. I don't care how old you are or how many siblings you have, until you sleep in the same bed with someone every night, you haven't learned anything about communication. Or understanding that it will take a lifetime and an entire marriage to understand communication. I wouldn't say that I thought it would be easier. For me, it's much worse than that. The men in my family, we have a tendency to very much live in the moment. So my whole plan was to get married. And when I got married, I was I did it. I got married. And then after that, I had no plans. So it wasn't that it was easier. It was more okay, now there's things to do with, And the reality of it started hitting me piece by piece. And it's oh, this is for real. My wife always puts it as getting up in the middle of the night and looking over, and it's huh, he's still here. We live here. This is our home. We're here together. No one's going anywhere. To think that marriage is going to be easy, it's neither confident nor naive. It's just your own simple unmarried thought. You'll figure it out when you get married.
I think, you know what? I think every couple goes into marriage thinking they'll be the exception to the rule, thinking that they're going to just navigate through marriage and they're going to crush it. They're not going to make the same mistakes their parents did. They're not going to make the same mistakes their friends did, and marriage humbles you for the most part. It really, really humbles you. I mean, you could send a joking text message to your wife and she could take that absolutely serious, and next thing you know you're up till 3 a.m. having to explain yourselves because one little miscommunication suddenly opened the floodgates of everything that was wrong with your personality. And suddenly she's bringing up something that happened in 2008 on January 17th at 9:06 p.m. I mean, that's
crazy
marriage. To be honest with you, it's been difficult, but at the same time, it's been extremely rewarding. And I do believe that when you find that the right woman, and you marry the woman whom God has called you to, and so long as Christ stays in the center of it, it doesn't matter what you two go through. You're going to be fine in the end. And my wife and I, we've had our ups and our downs, but I thank God that we've actually had more ups than we have had downs. And any arguments and situations or miscommunications, we've been able to deal with fairly quickly, and we've been able to forgive each other fairly quickly as well. So